So welcome. Thank you for your commitment to get up before the deer and the cows and everything else out there. It was an early morning and we appreciate it. Welcome to our 7th annual State of the County. My name is Sherry Roosh and I am the president of the Chamber Board, and I'm so happy to see all of you here. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Cindy Clore, for letting us use the net. Thank you, Cindy. Our supporter and sponsor of the event also is Digby Health. Thank you very much. I have a few dignitaries that I would like to acknowledge. Dana Jorgensen from the office of Frank Bigelow and then Senator Borges. I guess I better call Frank Assemblyman Frank.
You just call him Frank.
I can call him Frank, that's what I call him. And then I have some Calaveras supervisors, Amanda Follendorf from District 4, our board chair. Jack Mendy, District 2. And Marita Calloway, District 3. I would also like to introduce some of my board members that are here. Susan Weatherby, Secretary. Maureen DiVincenzo. And our newest board member, Cindy Clore. We also have some staff here, our CEO, Martin Huberty, our Assistant Administrator, Heidi Castle, and our Membership Director, Jody Garcia. Just a couple of housekeeping. If you didn't find the bathroom, it is in the lobby, and please turn your cell phones to silent. And I'm going to call up Susan. All right, good morning, everybody. I have the honor this morning of introducing Lieutenant Greg Stark of the Calaveras Sheriff's Office. He will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and also give us an update on what's going on with the Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant?
Stand, please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, if you've been following our social media page, we've been fairly busy with some significant incidents over the last couple of weeks. I'm very proud of the way our office interacted with not only our district attorney's office, Tuolumne's district attorney's office, and other agencies to get through that situation down in Valley Springs. Last weekend was also quite busy. We had a fentanyl exposure in the jail. We had some human remains located. In addition to it, we didn't get to put out our search and rescue team. Helped a woman off of a river trail with a broken ankle with the help of that CAL FIRE and Fast Fire Department. Some of the local things going on, or some of the exciting things I think going on in the Sheriff's Office. Right now we have 5 deputies on our field training program. We've got the 17-week program that we all follow around. In the next, right now we have 8 people in the academy, 8 new deputies, and then we have hiring an additional 5 more to go to the next academy. We're doing a really good job of recruiting. Nice building. Thank you for everybody in this room that helped. And the work environment that we have not only in the office, but with our community. We have a very strong bond with our community. We work to learn every day. People coming from they're taking back how much in that 500 days we'll be able to close to this and for the first time in a very long time, we attracted a lateral from San Francisco, and we had another investigation. So things at the Sheriff's Office are good. We're excited to have Rick DeCilio sworn in again on January 1st, or excuse me, I think it's going to be the 5th, to start his next term. We had a brief discussion with some people in the room about some issues going on in San Andreas. We have a tentative neighborhood or town hall meeting scheduled for November 15th across the street at the town hall. We talked about several issues impacting San Andreas, specifically some of the persistent problems with facing parks and some of our loyal customers. So I hope to see you guys there, and if anybody is interested in starting a local watch program, we have a pretty good push to get those established. I was at last week with Bill Burnham up at Jesus Maria. It's a long-standing neighborhood watch group, but we're reinvigorating it. So if you'd like to have that in your area, please let me know. If there's any questions, thank you.
Okay, so next up we have Martin Huberty, who is the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce and of the Calaveras Visitors Bureau and head of the Film Commission. And he's going to talk about what's happening at the Visitor Center and the Chamber.
Only one in the room with a tie. They always say dress for the job you want. I've been fortunate to be a part of, actually Marita's here, so she's gonna get upset with me that I'm reading too much, but my speaking brain doesn't work very well this early in the morning. So I'll just say, I've been fortunate to be a part of both the Chamber and the CDB this past year. The communities of Calaveras are second to none, and the people I've been lucky enough to work with have inspired and challenged these organizations to a higher standard of excellence. I'd like to start off by talking about the Chamber. I want to acknowledge the leadership of Sherry Roosh and the tireless support of the directors of the Chamber Board who give their time and expertise for the benefit of all businesses in Calaveras County. Some of the accomplishments I'd like to talk about beyond the myriad of after-hour events and ribbon cuttings start with On the Right Track. This program was held this past year at both Calaveras and Bret Harte High. It was a success both for our students and those businesses and agencies that took part. It was a great program that teaches students real-life skills that aren't currently taught in schools. We've had a lot of interest from other chambers for us to help them start their own On the Right Track programs. We are now complete with our Calaveras-opoly game, fashioned after Monopoly, except it has Calaveras businesses and local history and anecdotes on every square of the board. We hope to have the games here by Christmas, but having said that, we're going to start pre-selling them now. I'm sure Heidi will take your order in the back as your way out. We've also been working on filling the empty spaces in the Huberty building with our county partners, which will bring a new vitality to Main Street in San Andreas in the new year. The program I think that we're all most proud of is the Rural Chamber Summit. Again, under Sherry's leadership, we were able to pull off the first ever of its kind in California. Never before has there been a Rural Chamber Summit. We invited chambers from all over the state and Nevada to take part in the first ever conference put together just for rural chambers. I have a really hard time saying rural, and every time we made about 400 phone calls, and every time there's like rural. In any case, the importance of this conference was really apples to apples. For the first time, we were, as a rural chamber, talking to rural chambers instead of listening to what Los Angeles was doing, San Diego, Sacramento, Modesto. It really united us, and it was an incredible event. Our major sponsor was SBDC, and we had some heavy hitter guests and local speakers. It was a hugely successful two-day event with 29 participants from Humboldt County all the way to San Bernardino County. This was an annual event. This will be an annual event held in Calaveras. Everyone that came said that they would come again next year, and we expect a much larger crowd. I was also able to tour the participants around Big Trees. It's actually one of my favorite things to do is to take a walk at Big Trees in the morning. And if you haven't done it lately, I would suggest you do. It changes your whole attitude for the rest of the day. We're kicking off our Calaveras Leadership Program in the next couple of weeks, so please look for that. Lastly, I'd like to point out, with the help of Susan Weatherby, we have revamped our membership program, and together with our membership director, Jody Jurgens, we will keep our 200 memberships strong. We will be sending out the information next week regarding our new membership program. The Chamber is the largest membership organization in Calaveras. It's been quite a year, and we look forward to the year coming forward. Now on to the Visitors Bureau. Again, I'd like to thank the CDB board and staff for all their work this past year, and I'd like to give a special shout out to Nola Raspberry as one of our favored employees. How many 90-year-olds do you know put in an 8-hour shift 3 days a week? She remains a vital part of our organization and maintains a work ethic that keeps us all on our toes. We have a saying in the office, whatever Nola wants, Nola gets. I'd like to point out that our directors and advisors come from and represent every corner of our county. It's so good to be back face-to-face with our visitors. We've been seeing steady numbers throughout the summer. The CDB's partnership with the city and the Angels Camp Museum grows from strength to strength. We broadened our in-person reach by partnering with the Calaveras Wine Grape Alliance to house the Calaveras Information Center in Murphy's so that we meet all those that we miss in Angels. We market the county predominantly through printed materials, namely our visitor's guide, social media, video presentations, our web presence, radio spots, and a host of travel writers and influencers. I will be marketing abroad for the first time this upcoming year to our largest European market in the UK. We will be featured in the National Geographic travel magazine. We saw a sharp peak with our transient occupancy tax this past year. The pandemic resulted in people who initially discovered us coming back in droves. The extreme heat and gas inflated prices created a bit of a dip towards the end of our summer season, and I believe that there will be more of a slump in visitation this next year. The looming recession and whatever confronts us this next year will prepare to combat and remain one of the best kept secrets in California. I would encourage you, if you have any questions or concerns, to please reach out directly to me or to the office. Thank you so much for your time in attending the 7th State of the County. Thank you. It's my extreme pleasure to introduce Kathy Bellino, our director of Calaveras County's Economic and Community Development Department.
Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing this early? Chilly, okay. All right. It's Friday. I hope everybody has a great weekend, too. So, I would like to talk a little bit about what's going on with economic development in Calaveras County. I am the director. I have a department of me, but I work very, very closely with a lot of the organizations, the Chamber, Visitors Bureau, community partners, utility providers, healthcare, and so I have the honor to actually get to know a lot of people in the job. So economic development means a lot of different things to different people. But in a nutshell, trying to define it as just a jobs program, creating jobs, is inaccurate. It provides wealth to our communities through investment, community partnerships, and a whole host of different things that make our quality of life better. So I'm going to talk about a few things that I've been working on this year, actually a couple of years. The first of which is to define my mission. My position was created about 5 years ago. I tested, I got the job, it was amazing. I'm very, very happy because I've been a resident for 27 years. I was commuting to Sacramento 3 hours a day for 25. So being able to serve my community and develop a mission and a vision by going out and meeting people, talking to people, talking to businesses, trying to find out what their needs are, whether it was permitting assistance, zoning assistance, coordinating meetings with our land use department heads, helping them find funding, locations, employees. I work very closely with our Mother-Lode Job Training Board and work on trying to improve our community as far as parks and recreation, healthcare, safety, and all the good things that go with that. So over the pandemic, things got kind of crazy, but there was an amazing opportunity, and it was in grant funding. I did a lot of grant writing. I couldn't get out to my business community as much as I wanted to, although with the Chamber we did do some things online. We did some unpacking of the state's guidance on how to reopen. Zoom is just, I'm so tired of it. So I want to get back out. We're doing a series of business walks, probably in the spring. I was hoping to try and do it this fall, but I just ran out of time. But getting out to the communities, working with the Chamber, working with our business associations, and actually going out and talking to businesses door to door. It's a great opportunity to find out what's going on, what their challenges are, what their needs are. So the interesting thing that I learned during the pandemic was, yes, businesses had a hard time. They had hard times getting employees and a place to come back. But you know what I found was that we had a 9% increase in business licensing, because we had a bunch of entrepreneurs that we didn't even really know about. It was a whole different sector. I'm thinking about brick and mortar businesses, but there's people that started their businesses from their homes. They didn't want to go back to work, or they needed to do something other than, not work.
And so there were a lot of businesses that were created, very, very interesting to me. As far as trends, I don't want to take up too much time yet. So there's a lot of things going on with the trends portion. Yes, it's true, we're in a recession sort of, with some inflation, but I see in the future, and this is based on just knowledge and information that I receive, because I do a lot of seminars and I still try to stay on top of everything besides just doing grants. We're going to have a couple of tough quarters, but I'm thinking by the third quarter next year, things are going to start looking up. Things are going to turn a corner. Businesses are going to start hiring and booming again. The big thing is that a lot of employee shortage is what we've all heard, right? We don't have employees, we can't hire anybody. If they come, they've got an attitude or they don't want to work very hard. That's going to be changing because there's going to be more opportunity for businesses to provide the jobs. And on a bigger note, housing. So we've all heard it. We have employees, they have a hard time finding a place to live. And that's one of the priorities that we're working on with Health and Human Services Agency, with our building people, with our developers, with our planning department, is we need to have more workforce housing. This is critical. My son lived with me for 2 years after he lost his job during COVID, and it took him 2 years to find some place to live. He works here, he works in Calaveras. So we do have a shrinking workforce. We do have a lot of baby boomers that are retiring. We also have a lower birth rate. So we're not getting the replacement that we were getting before. So this is another thing to consider in the future. So on the business retention side, that's the number one priority. Everybody thinks, oh, you want to attract a big business. You want to get a Walmart. No, you don't. You want to help your businesses that are here, your existing businesses, because about 18% of them are ready to grow to a bigger level. And that's a huge thing. Work with your local businesses, your existing businesses, and see what their needs are for expansion or for growth. I already mentioned the business entrepreneurship. Okay, let's talk grants. So I applied and received 10 different grants. Again, Department of One, 10 grants. The biggest one, I think, that is very important is broadband. I work on the broadband team with county leadership, with our IT director, and with a whole host of great folks through RCRC, which is the Rural Counties Representatives of California. We're in a consortium called the Golden State Connect Authority. Broadband is here. Broadband is now. There is amazing amounts of money, one-time money, that's going to be available for us not only to plan, to actually implement broadband, get it going, get it done. We all learned during the pandemic, connectivity is everything. You can't connect, you can't do much. There's also a life safety issue with connectivity. Parks and Recreation. So, Parks and Recreation, we did receive an allocation to help improve and strengthen some of our parks. The 3 parks that were selected to move forward were Feeney Park and Murphy's. They're going to be doing some upgrades to the restrooms there. There's also Alex Quinones Park, which is on Mountain Ranch Road. We're doing some improvements there, putting in a pickleball court. I don't even know what pickleball is. Apparently it's a thing. It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing. And also some playground structures. And then the third park that was selected is a new project that Calaveras County just acquired, which is the former Railroad Flat Elementary School. And we're going to be doing some improvements there on making that a park and a community center for recreation in the community. FAA, yes, airport. Airport is my thing too. I love airports. We have one. So I'm working on getting some resurfacing done. The airport is a great asset. I don't know if anybody's been up there, but it is a great, great asset, and it's something that we need to really invest in again. Infrastructure, right? So got some grants going up there. We're resurfacing and doing some studies. I should put my glasses on so I can see. We did receive quite a bit of funding through CARES Act and also with the American Rescue Plan Act for helping offset some of our debt service at the airport. We do have some construction debt that we're still dealing with there from hangars and so forth, construction. But the biggest thing is reconditioning the airfield.
We're also in the process of a SEDS, which is a comprehensive economic development strategy or study. Some of you may have participated in the questionnaire that was online. We're working with the Central Sierra Economic Development District on rolling out our next 5-year plan for Calaveras economic development. So if you have not had the opportunity to get on the survey, please reach out to me, or I'll post it back up on the county main website. We are still taking survey results. There's like 4 questions. I think it takes less than 3 minutes, but it helps us prioritize where we need to be looking forward to for the next 5 years. And it's not just Calaveras, it's actually a 5-county district. So it includes Amador, Alpine, Tuolumne, Mariposa, and Calaveras. Let's see what's next. So the recent grants, I think you probably have seen, I did a press release a couple days ago, which is the local agency technical assistance, LADA grant funding, which is for the broadband engineering and design. So we're going to be looking at partnering on doing engineering and design where broadband needs to be, where we don't have service or very low service, underserved, and developing strategies going forward on how we can deploy that. As I said, there's a lot of monies coming down. So these are my goals. Continue providing business assistance, collaborating with agencies, and developing more relationships with our utility providers, our developers, for getting housing going for our workforce, promoting infrastructure, identifying and developing new business markets. So yes, entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are amazing. They're an amazing part of our county that I really didn't think about at the beginning. Supply chain, leveraging supply chain. So one of the things that I found over this year was a lot of our small restaurants, especially when they were reopening, they were having some problems getting, their supplies. They needed their cheeses, their vegetables, their produce, their fruits and vegetables, but they weren't able to collaborate and get like a shipment. So I'm working with some of our local, especially here in San Andreas, of food service providers, whether it's Cisco or whoever it is, that getting our businesses, our small businesses, collaborating so that they can get a delivery on Tuesday. That they don't have to hear, oh, I'm sorry, we're only in San Andreas on Thursday. So working with especially our restaurants, because they struggled very, very hard during the pandemic. And then the greatest grant, which is my favorite one, is a grant for businesses. So this was through the Community Development Block Grant. I received a $750,000 grant to provide grants to businesses directly. And God, it feels good to give money to businesses. It just does. And so it really helped those businesses that were impacted and had to shut their doors or really pivot on how to operate during the pandemic, right? And those costs, because there was a lot of costs borne by our small business. So I think that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts? I can give you a brief summary of the results. We had a presentation with the Board of Supervisors, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, regarding the SEDS, which is a comprehensive economic development strategy. And believe it or not, guess what the top 3 things were that are in need? We need housing, we need workforce, we need to support our small businesses. So I'll leave you with that. And
with regard to that, those funds for the 5 counties, this was at DAP meeting yesterday, and we were talking about it. About $5 million in 5 counties.
yes, that's the survey.
Going back to the survey, which they lean heavily on the survey, there's only been 200 surveys turned in 5 counties. And so if there was an effort in this county with the people here, everybody sent in, 2 people would send in what our needs are, I think we would have a good shot at what we want in that money, because the numbers are so small that we can really influence that decision. And it's something everybody here can do in 2 minutes. So I would encourage you to take that survey. I did it pretty simple. Also, there's a survey going on with the city of Angels Camp as well. Reviewing all of the services and the responsibilities from the city. So those are important surveys to get involved with.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Thank you for taking the survey.
Yeah.
And the SURF program, which is actually Steve Rich is going to talk about with the Sierra Business Council, it's another great opportunity that we have. It's a $5 million planning grant and about a $38 million implementation plan. Early. So with that, I will close. If anybody has any other questions, oh, go ahead.
I have a quick question. You mentioned that there were a number of businesses that were ready to grow. They were all in local area. I was wondering if you could overview of what we're talking about here. Not necessarily specific businesses, but what types of businesses we're talking about.
Okay, so one of the industries is the auto service industry, and David will probably speak to that. But also in the actual retail and restaurants. So there's a restaurant that's down in Valley Springs that I've been working with. They want to double their footprint. So that would be pretty amazing. So those are kind of the ones that I've seen. And I was going to say something else, I just forgot. Oh, it's early. But the light's up. I can see the sun now. So I think, am I supposed to introduce you? You can, no, I'll come back up. Thanks, you guys.
Able to hear okay?
No.
No, not there in the back. It's a little closer. Hopefully that'll help. Thank you, Kathy, for updating us on all the economic issues that you're facing, that we're facing. I have the honor to update us on the issues pertaining to Calaveras County and the City of Angels Camp. Our next speaker is District 4 Supervisor and currently Chairperson of the Board of Supervisors, Amanda Follendorf.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I tend to always speak very loud to get it. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's early morning. Martin, thanks for making sure that alarm clock I got up this morning. This is my second year on the Board of Supervisors, and I would like to thank the Chamber for hosting this event today, along with everyone, not only in this room, but out in the county for supporting and allowing me to represent District 4 and the county at the Board of Supervisors level. The last few years have been an amazing transition from the city to the county, and I thank, again, everyone for supporting me along that way. It's been, county and cities are very different, and it's been an honor to learn from my colleagues as well as staff, and I could not have done it without their support. This year, being on the board, I am really excited to talk about all the things that have been happening, especially behind the scenes, and hopefully getting wrapped up by the end of the year and going full speed ahead into 2023. Many times folks ask, what is the board doing? Why don't we see what's happening? Are they even working on this or that? Or are they even caring about what we're having to say to them? And we are. It's just, in government, it is a slow and painful process, as we all know. But we have accomplished so much, not only as board, but with our staff, and still a lot more to come. It was a time of transition and changes at the beginning of the year. We all went through the trials of redistricting, which launched us into 2022. It's also a time of exciting opportunities, especially coming in with new elected and a new CAO. But it's not without recognizing and congratulating those who have dedicated their time to our county and congratulating them on their new chapters in life. So thank you to Supervisor Calloway, Leslie Davis, and Barbara Sullivan for their dedication to this county and its residents. Each of them are on a new, I would like to say chapter, I keep saying that, but a book. And their dedication to not only us, but just what they have done, because so much has happened. And then congratulations to all of our new electeds coming on. Supervisor Heavily, our new tax collector and treasurer, as well as a new assessor. I'm excited for the new places we're headed as a county. Over the last 18 to 24 months, the county has had many changes. However, these changes could not have been implemented again with the hard work of staff and our partners. It's a new day and a new leadership, and I'm proud to stand beside my colleagues and county staff in working on a strategic plan. We all came together to focus on common goals and implementation of these goals. This is critical for the next steps of the county and where we are going. This allows the county to be pragmatic in solving issues by forecasting rather than reacting. This goes towards capital projects, finance, and just day-to-day operations to keep the services you all expect the county to provide. As we talk about the changes, partnerships, not just with our external organizations, but also internally within our organization itself. By coming together and tapping into the skills already around it is paramount. I believe and I hope that you would agree with me that each of us are only as good as we are with our partners. Building strong relationships with our partners and each other is critical to the survival of this county. We have many new faces, and with that has brought new leadership, innovation, and positive change in the county. Many times, staff do not get the credit that they deserve. They keep projects alive and deliver. They help community members with their projects and events. And let's face it, they keep us elected in line. We forget many times that they are the experts in their field, and being able to finally give them the tools that they need to do their job. This past year alone should show the success of what our staff has done. To say the least, it's been a very busy year at the county, and I'm proud to be a part of this team. Currently, we are fortunate to have Craig Pedro as our interim county CAO. Craig led Tuolumne County for decades, and we in Calaveras are fortunate to have his leadership at the board level as well as the staff level. We are forever in his debt for committing his time and coming out of retirement to work with Calaveras in order to move on. Today, Craig was not able to join us. I am actively recruiting as I speak. The board is dedicated to recruiting a new CAO, and with Craig's leadership, we are confident we will be able to find someone to not only be part of this community, but also help us lead us into the future. Many times we focus on the economy, as Kathy Galino mentioned earlier, to weigh on how the county is doing externally. While it is important, I would like to take the time to recognize the many accomplished staff has done and still working on to make business at the county easier for you. They have implemented and expanded the traffic system for various needs, but not limited to reporting voting issues, who doesn't want to complain about a pothole, various complaints, tracking the projects and where they stand so you are up to date, the ability to pay online, GIS mapping. OES has updated their alert to Zone Haven, which is more accurate location for incidents. Ranch passes for larger ranchers to access the livestock thanks to the Sheriff's Department in collaboration with OES. Greenhouse gas plan for the county that will be making its way to the board for adoption. And many road projects, such as the wagon trail, repaving projects, and investments into our business to ensure they can have longevity, such as the platforms that we recently just passed. We're also improving the way that the public is able to participate in board meetings. We now have YouTube, thanks to our public television, and you still utilizing Zoom. Because knowing that this county is a geographic area to cover, we still want the participation of every resident across the county. And while we come out of the last 2 years of COVID, it has allowed us to pivot to these various platforms to create more accessibility to our residents. But you're still welcome to come in the boardroom, we still want to see your face. These things normally go unrecognized, but it's a testament to staff dedication to improving various services in our county for our residents. Money. TOT is up and sales tax is up. However, we have a budget of $9 million deficit right now, and the board is committed to working on reducing the deficit. Some of these ways we are doing this is in collaboration with staff, is working and going through and ensuring we are budgeting for actuals and recognizing that we need to tighten our allocation. By reducing the deficit, we'll be able to be in a better place to have the ability to be forward-thinking and proactive in our strategic planning. We have many projects in the county that have been neglected that we still need to work on before we can begin a new chapter of financial success. But the path moving forward is exciting and promising, and the board is committed to giving more direction to this by the end of the year to ensure we walk into 2023 with an improved budget that will allow us to keep the county healthy financially as we move forward into uncertain times. Strategic planning. This has been a collaborative effort with our department and the board. This has never been done before. The board is committed in producing a strategic plan with staff by the end of this year. This is exciting because this collaboration allows not only the board of supervisors, staff, and the public to be able to understand where we're going and why we're doing it. It also allows the transparency and accountability, not just with the public, but within ourselves and the organization. And this is exciting because we will be better aligned with our budget goals. We can't ask our staff and our residents to step up and have high expectations if the board isn't willing to work on themselves. We've recently gone through multiple day workshops in governance and ensuring that we have the skill set moving forward to support our staff and our community as the times move ahead. And we look forward to adopting that government manual by the end of the year along with our strategic plan. When we talk about the economy, we instantly think about businesses coming into the county. And I'd like to take a time to hit some highlights that the county is working on investing in ourselves to be a better place for those businesses to invest in our community. And if we don't talk about those things, how can we market Calaveras County as a place to come and do business and live? Some of the top investments the county is working on and committed to is broadband. Supervisor Garamendi is the chair of the Golden State Connect, which is a joint powers authority with a number of rural counties dedicated to bringing broadband to rural California. He also participates in the Golden State Finance Authority, which is a mechanism for counties to utilize in helping various finance needs. And one of those programs is ensuring that county staff can apply to get assistance for home purchasing, so they can be part of our workforce. County just got an update on our new SEDS, which is feedback from the county and the priorities and goals for economic development, not just here in Calaveras County, but throughout the foothill region. This is a guiding document to ensure all counties in the regions are not only address our own needs, but also the region to ensure we all benefit from a successful economy utilizing the resources across the region. Sierra Business Council, which you will hear later, is working on multi-million-dollar planning allocations to this region alone, and to ensure the county is in a place to apply for more funding in the future in economic development. This is a huge deal and allows the county to bring those millions back into Calaveras and invest into our economy by supporting businesses and infrastructure. We, along with the rest of the West, are facing a harsh reality of looking into new ways to address water issues. Now is the time to take a perception of living in frequent wet participation years with drought to we are living in the drought, with less participation happening. And if we can work from that viewpoint, we'll be able to address the challenges ahead with working with our partners to a common goal to ensuring our water is protected and available for our community. Other examples of innovative and highlight the county has done is partnering with the Forest Service in the Good Neighbors Agreement. Thank you to Supervisor Holloway and Supervisor Garamendi for that. This allows a better mechanism to address the fuel breaks, fuel reduction project, tree mortality, and this is just one of the few in the state of California that allows a new way of working together to accomplish common goals to protect our communities. Another example, which I'm proud of, and I believe the last time I was standing in front of this group, I was the mayor and we were announcing the exciting new collaboration of the Angel Camp Community Group and applying for a grant for the state. That commitment, jointly with the city council at the time, the community did what no one thought could be done. And now years later, with the advocacy and support of a local state representative, Dana, Destination Angel Camp, and the community itself, the Angel Camp Community Group, for believing in a vision and finally getting awarded $3 million for a new park, not only for the city, but for the region. And that's a true testament of years of dedication, work, commitment to something greater than us all, and a legacy to be an example of how to be collaborative with our community. Since I'm on the city, and I want to talk about the highlights of the city and what's going on. Since I've left office at the city and the new administration has taken over, the city was able, through TOT and sales, raise their budget to almost $2.5 million. That allowed them currently to start projects that past councils have never been able to do. And some of those things that they're able to now invest that money into is the sewer and water project, road projects. I believe many of you have seen Murphy's Grade Road and the improvements outside of the high school. Investment into the community. I think this winter we'll be seeing the fog bank coming back to revitalize the city local businesses. They're on track for the Angels Creek Trail. And they also have a new city administrator, who many of you know is Rebecca Tower. And I see, congratulations to her and her new leadership as she leads the city into this new exciting time, where they're finally able to have the stability that they have lacked over the years. And a huge highlight for the city as well. 3 years ago, the city was one of the worst finance listed on the cities in the state of California, according to the League of Cities. Now, they're one of the top 20. That's a true testament to the city council and the administration to leading from years of deficit into the black and committing to their constituents. Other investments, quickly, they have also done is, with the money that they've gotten, they've also been able to finally hire 3 full-time fire positions. And they've been able to put their investments back into public safety, which is a great accomplishment, especially after years of lacking and not having the services that city residents expect. They are launching into the new strategic plan, so if you haven't, I believe the 30th is the last day, so please make sure to take the survey. You can find it on their new website. So going into other collaborations with the city and projects in District 4 is the wagon trail. That is over 3 decades in the making, and now we're finally breaking ground. Supervisor Tofanelli and I have been working to secure more funding for Phase 2 with not only Caltrans, but the California Transportation Commission, as well as the Council of Governments. And we are committed to ensuring that the county is in a place to finish that project. Just this last week, the county was also notified that the CTC, the California Transportation Commission, has awarded $9.8 million to Polk Street project right here in San Andreas. This is monumental and huge investment from the state into our community. This project will improve the pedestrian, biking, and provide safe sidewalks for children to get to school and adults to be able to safely walk their community. A huge thanks to our partners at the COG, Caltrans, county staff who have dedicated their time over the years to get this project funded. The county has also secured the purchase of railroad flat from the school district to provide a community space for the community to provide services in rural areas of our town. This purchase will allow the county to provide space for commercial kitchen to support local home businesses, gatherings, and also a place for us to support times and disasters too. This year we were lucky, but it was close to home moment, bringing back daunting memories with the electric fire following the same footprint of the Butte fire. If we have learned anything, we need to provide for our community with a location to shelter and provide services to the far-reach areas of our community. This is paramount investment into our community to provide spaces to support our communities in ways we have never been able to do before. And thank you to Supervisor Garamendi for leading that. I highlight these accomplishments not because of the success, but also a testament of the investment into our county with our partners and staff alike, and what we are doing for residents, to ensure we have a thriving economy to continue not only to support our current residents, but so they can prosper, and also ensure we have investment that will catapult us into the future that These legacies will allow the next generation of leaders to be successful and continue a healthy and vibrant Calaveras County. Quick notes of other investments this board is committed to is a new animal shelter. Thank you, Supervisor Callaway. By the end of the year, and in 2022, the RFQ will be out for the design for a new facility that will grossly improve animal welfare, care, staff offices, and welcoming a place for the public to find their new furry family members. In the same timeline is a new DA building. When folks talk about investment into supporting our law enforcement activities, we tend to hyper-focus on red lights and jails. And what we don't talk about are investments in securing justice for victims and survivors of crime. The board is committed to creating a better space, not just for staff, but those receiving the services that our DA provides to our community and seeking justice. Upgrading our electric grid on the county campus to ensure we are able to support the future of our fleet management system, electric cars, technology advancements, keeping the county running during PSPS, and even more. And we're also trying to address our housing element. We just recently went through a workshop and supporting staff to ensure that we are meeting not only our general plan, but also the commitment to our residents to ensure they have affordable housing. These are the items are not cool, but they're important investment to ensure services are being provided to residents of this county, but also staff has a safe and secure location to do their job, to provide those services. As strategic planning starts to kick off, more and more of these items will slowly start to progress and become tangible items that the public will see being done. Projects like this take years to accomplish, and while it's easy to want instant results, as I said earlier, government is a painful, slow process to see results done. If you want that, I suggest heading to Instagram or your TikTok account. Because as our world changes to things being instant and at our fingertips, we need to remind ourselves that the success of government can take years. And with strategic planning, it will allow us to keep ourselves accountable to you in this room, but also to ourselves to ensure we stay track to continue the investment into this community so we all enjoy the glory that Calaveras County has to offer. And with that, thank you for listening, and I love seeing everyone today. Thank you, Chamber, for hosting such a great event.
Thank you, Amanda. So next I would like to introduce Dana Jorgensen, who is with the Office of Frank Bigelow, Assembly Member Frank Bigelow, and Senator Borges, and he's going to talk to us about how to lobby effectively. Dana.
It's nice to see so many friends here today. A long time ago, when I was younger, we had a secretary in the Capitol, and somebody came up and she's like, "Oh yeah, I know that person, I know that person." And Rusty was probably mid-50s at that time. And "How do you know so many people, Rusty?" And she goes, "Well, when you get older, you know, you see more people and you have kids in school and you learn, meet their parents and stuff." And you know what? 20 years later, Rusty was right. Before I forget, and first of all, I want to thank Kathy. Kathy kind of stole some of my speech, but I want to say yes to a lot of the things that Kathy said. She's got a pulse on some of the issues that we probably need to look at as a society. So good job. And I also want to give a gold star to Martin in the chamber, and I think you said it was Sherry with the Rural Summit. I went to a pretty large chamber in another county, and I was talking to a person there, a worker at the chamber, and I told her where I was from, and she mentioned, "Oh, I just went up there. Boy, that Ironstone, that's a great place, and that was a really good conference, and I really enjoyed it." And this is a big chamber that's got a lot of business and it's got a lot of things going on. And I just wanted to bring back to you independently that you got a gold star for putting that on. So I'm glad you're continuing to do that. Okay, I wrote some of this. It was some things I had and I thought about, and I just want to, so forgive me for reading a little bit here this morning. Effective lobbying, if you're writing a letter, it should be 1 page. 2 at most if complicated. Typed is better. Handwritten letters that are easy to read are fine. List your name, your phone number, your email address, your address, so we can get a hold of you. List what you would like to be done to solve the problem. I personally, and this is a little bit, I'm going to go off here a bit, I'm personally not a fan of identical typed letters where a person signs their name at the bottom. One handwritten letter with heartfelt views, even if I or my boss disagree with them, is worth 20 to 30 of the same letter that only has a signature at the bottom. This, again, is my personal bias. I personally like phone calls, as we generally have to ask 20 questions sometimes, and I get into trouble because people call me a lot, and I can ask them any question under the sun, and a lot of it's actually pretty personal information, and they answer it because they're trying to solve the problem. And sometimes I forget I'm not at work, and I'll start going into 20 questions. I have to stop myself. I'm like, oh, well, this is not the time to do that. Again, we do have to ask a lot of questions to get to the gist of an issue, especially with casework. This is hard to do, and it takes time if you're ping-ponging emails with people all day, for sometimes days on end. Go to lobby days in Sacramento if you are part of a larger statewide organization. Make a connection with staff and the elected officials, even if it's walking by them and saying hi to them on the sidewalk outside the Capitol. Invite the legislator to a quarterly meeting of your group or a yearly meeting that meets in their district. Invite them to be the speaker. Generally, Thursdays and Fridays are the best days to do that. And I'll just give a little example. I'm not saying you need to do this or anything, but I know in the past, the chamber, especially when I was with Senator Cox, we would have about once a year on Fridays. It happened to be at Greenhorn Creek. Those were really good events. We always had really good attendance, and I think it was, you got your work done. It was Friday. You could meet with your friends and have a nice meal and maybe hopefully get some information or exchange what you want to tell your legislator. And then people could go float on in the afternoon. And I really enjoyed those, and I thought they were good. I thought they were, I know Senator Cox enjoyed them, and I did too, and I think they were good things that we did. If you forget anything I tell you today, remember these two sentences. Make relationships with staff and be nice, always. Staff have lots of things to do. If they know you, they'll generally be more open to accommodating your request. Don't make your issue go nowhere due to you being unreasonable or demanding. Get to us early, especially if the decision was one that you disagree with. It's really hard to unwind a no. Sometimes we agree to disagree. Be polite, and if no agreement is going to be available, move on. There are generally plenty of things to agree on later. There might be an issue that the staff, that you or your organization are seeking, that staff or the legislator might contact you out of the blue with a program or grants that might help you with your issue or organization. And I'll give you an example that I had a constituent that had it's not really a state issue, but it was a development issue. That's the other thing, you get every question under the sun. And that's actually what I actually enjoy about my job is you pick up the phone, you have no idea what the person's going to start talking about. And it's kind of, I don't know, I enjoy it actually. It's a puzzle. This person in Tuolumne County had a development issue, but I knew an engineer that I know and trust, and I actually referred that constituent to this person that could potentially help them. Emails are good for casework or proposing bill ideas. Be sure to be aware of deadlines. Don't call an office in June or when somebody's leaving office with a bill proposal. It's generally too late. This actually happened to me a couple of days ago. A person called with somebody passed away in their immediate family. It was a very sad situation, and they had a bill idea. It was a good bill idea, and I had to tell her, unfortunately, my bosses are leaving office. You can leave it with me. I might still be doing this. I'll keep the bill idea. But that was a quick conversation because then she's probably going to wait. Naturally, people have areas of expertise or issues they really care about. Try to know what issues your legislator is interested in or cares about. If the issue only pertains to some issue unique to your area, you should go to the local legislator first. Any bill ideas that any bill can go to any senator or assembly member statewide, but it's generally good to go to the person who serves your area that you and your neighbors put in office. Inviting staff or especially legislators to events can never be done early enough. I would say minimum invite them a month before the event. 2 months is better. Legislators and even staff can go to an event every day and night, even on Sunday if you look hard enough and you want to. Dates do fill up. Generally Monday or Thursday up to 4 p.m. or so there in Sacramento in committee meetings or floor session. So it's not a good time unless you're within an hour of the Capitol. So I've worked for legislators and it's really it's really nice because they do live in the greater Sacramento area. They will meet constituents in the Capitol. You know, if your senators from San Diego or from the city or even Humboldt County, that doesn't generally happen. That's a nice thing that we can do. And some people want to go to the Capitol. And then vice versa, the legislator can come on a Thursday night and come to your group. Or even Wednesday, we've done it on Tuesdays. It comes to kind of what the person in office, how they want to do that. And that's something that you really can only the legislators within, 70 or 80 miles of the Capitol are able to do that. Most of them are not able to do that. So it's really nice. I like that. A vote is a vote and everyone's is equal. Make a connection to staff or the legislature early. There are people that I know and I trust. If they want something, I work extra hard to get them what they're looking for, or I'll die trying. And some of those people are in this room. We've had a connection over time. You're good people. You just generally want good things for your society or your organization or your community. And it does help out you know people, because we really are, and I wrote this long thing last night, which I'm not going to read, but about relationships. So you do gain those over time, and there are people, like, they just call me and say, hey, da-da-da-da, this, and I'll say, yep, okay, let's do that. I don't have to question it because I implicitly trust them. Because all we have in our jobs is our reputation. We can't say I produced this, or I did that, or my sales goal is this. It's, do you return phone calls? Do you show up? Do you, as Senator Cox would say, do you keep your commitments? That's a little bit of that. I'm just going to go through some real key challenges I thought of last night. I saw the other day that your unemployment rate was like 2.9%. That's close to no unemployment. When you get down to 2 or 3%, there's people cycling around. That's a lot of economists will consider that zero unemployment. We do need workers. I want to give another gold star out to Habitat for Humanity. They're working on that project in Angels Camp for market rate housing, workforce housing. They do a really great job of meeting that need that sometimes our market economy is not fully meeting maybe at this time. And that's going to be a wonderful project. I met some of those people and they're really super talented people that are helping out with that. The two issues that we're kind of, we're going towards electric transportation. We are going to need chargers if we're really going to do this. There are funds coming for that. We need to continue to advocate funds to be able to accomplish that. And the other one is a reliable energy source. We need to, PG&E is working pretty hard on that. That's something that we kind of, I think is, I will say even the PUC and PG&E and us as a society, we kind of neglected that for a while, and that's going to take some time for us to transition. I think there are funds, but we just all need to continue to pay attention to that and demand that we have the level of service that we need. And if we continue to pay attention to that, we will get that. Real quick, if you have accounts that you don't have any activity on them, they will eventually go to the state controller. It's called the unclaimed property. You can go on the state controller's website. It's sco.ca.gov. I did it one day. I started typing in people's names. There are people I knew, and this is not $1,000. Could be $35, could be $20, but it is there. There's a way you can get those. You'd be surprised how much is there. And I had some pictures here. Here's one. It's gold bullion. Here's one. They had alcohol that they had confiscated and they were keeping for somebody. Bacardi, something Martel. My favorite is Underwood sardines and tomato sauce. And it had the tag on it was 86 cents when they initially got it. So I just want to, I could have talked about gas. I'm not going to talk about that today. The inflation payment checks have started going out for people. I'm waiting for mine because I wrote some checks early, and I had to pull some money out of my savings to get to the first. So I was hoping that'd get here by now, but my kids in college have, they always seem to have a claim over that money whenever you have something extra come in. And then this is from the California Chamber of Commerce. It's common reasons for being late for work. And traffic is the most common cause of tardiness among employees, 50%, followed by lack of sleep, 30%, and bad weather, 26%. Trying to get the kids to school or daycare is a roadblock for 12%, while public transportation wardrobe issues get in the way of 6 and 7%. Here are some bizarre excuses for being late for work. I was drunk and forgot which Waffle House I parked my car next to. I think that's in the South. I had to wait for the judge to set my bail. I discovered my spouse was having an affair, so I followed him this morning to find out who he was having an affair with. I don't recommend doing that. I've watched too many crime shows. That does not go well. Someone robbed the gas station I was at, and I didn't have enough gas to get to another station. There was a stranger sleeping in my car. This is for us. A deer herd that was moving through town made me late. I dreamed that I got fired. I went out to my car to drive to work, and the trunk had been stolen out of it. In this case, the employee had the photos to prove it. And this one, I was talking about dreaming, I was actually really sound asleep, and behind a good person in office or an employee is their spouse, and I was sound asleep at 6:20, and my wife woke me up and says, "Don't you have to leave in 10 minutes?" So she kind of saved the day, but I was having this very vivid dream with an employee that I work with now, and she was leaving early, and she's a very dedicated employee, and she goes, "Okay," it's like 4:40, and she's like, "I'm leaving." I thought, "Okay, see you later." I thought, that's definitely a dream, because she would have been here at 5:40, and this person who I know, who's running for office, asked me to do something. And I was questioning it, and then they explained why. And I says, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." And so I thought, okay, that's weird that a dream actually makes sense. Usually they don't make sense, but this is a person I thought, oh, okay, I guess, I'll be good going forward, so I don't have to worry about anything. So anyway, thank you for inviting me. It's good to see so many of you here today, and let's continue our relationship. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dana. I was happy to hear that a few of you in the crowd had heard of the Community Economic Resilience Fund, because as our last speaker, we have Mr. Steve Frisch, who's president of the Sierra Business Council, and he is here today to talk to us about the Community Economic Resilience Fund. Steve?
Well, thank you everyone for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here this morning. It is tough being the last person between this room and the sunshine. I can see it. So, I want to talk just for a couple minutes about this opportunity that came up that the organization I work for, Sierra Business Council, started working on a couple of years ago. So many of us know that the impact of COVID and the changes that have occurred in the economy in the last couple of years have been really tough. It's been hard for people to think through how do you restructure the economy to work more efficiently kind of in a recovery, and as we begin to look at what comes next. And as a result of that, one of the things that was included in last year's state budget was this new program managed by the Employment Development Division, the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, and GoBiz, which is the economic development agency of the state of California, called the Community Economic Resilience Fund. And the idea behind this investment was that they would look at, instead of a single statewide economic development strategy, which we all know that California is a pretty complicated state. You know, by the way, did anyone notice that we're now the 4th largest economy in the world? Is that like almost unbelievable? That this state is the 4th largest economy in the world, you know? That's a pretty complicated thing. The economy in Los Angeles doesn't look anything like the economy in the Redwood Coast, or in the Sierra Nevada, or in Monterey Bay, or right? So how do you plan for what's next? For what are the opportunities for expansion, for infrastructure investment, for workforce education and training investments, and everything else? So the strategy they deployed was to kind of identify regions of the state and deploy funding for each one of those regions to do an economic development strategy that would look at a whole series of different opportunities that might emerge in those regions. So this economic planning process, which is supposed to take roughly 18 to 24 months, is going to be kind of a very heavily data-driven process. So there's a lot of research behind it. It will look at things like, what are the emergent economic clusters in each one of those regions that could be lifted up? What are the workforce education and training needs that would be necessary in order to advance those clusters? What's the entrepreneurship environment, and what services do entrepreneurs need in those regions? What are the access to capital issues? What kinds of capital do people need in order to drive investment within the regions? And then within each one of those economic clusters that are identified, what are the infrastructure investments, or the direct capital investments that can create new jobs, new employment, new business opportunity, and an expanding economy? So this region of the state, which the state in its infinite wisdom named the Eastern Sierra, which everyone in the Eastern Sierra, by the way, thinks that's really funny. So just get used to them cracking jokes about that. So the region that we're in, which is called the Eastern Sierra, is the 5 counties in the Western Foothills: Mariposa, Tuolumne, Calaveras, Amador, and then Alpine, Mono, and Inyo. So it's a 7-county region, 187,000 people in the population in that combined region. And we were awarded a $5 million planning grant to do that economic development strategy. So that planning grant will be deployed in a way that it is consistent with all of the existing economic planning work that's going on in the region. So for example, one of the key partners in this grant will be the Central Sierra Economic Development District. So this is intended to kind of help implement that SEDS, or the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, that you guys have already embarked on. As a matter of fact, we're even using the same economic analyst that's working on the SEDS from California State University at Chico to do the economic data. So it's intended to be consistent with your existing planning documents, but then identify essentially the infrastructure investments that could advance the economy in the region. And the definition of infrastructure is a little bit soft in this program. It doesn't necessarily mean roads and pipes. It might also mean investments in organizations to build capacity in order to do ongoing work. So for example, we included funding in this grant for the Central Sierra Economic Development District, the Mother Lode Job Training Center, the Eastern Sierra Council of Governments. So we're really thinking about this issue of how do you build the capacity of the community to continue to do this work in the long run. And then the product, which will be out in, as I said, 18 to 24 months, would then lead to access to a pot of funds that's been set aside by the state for infrastructure investments within the region. So I want to be really careful that I'm not making any promises about where that funding goes yet. So there's $500 million in that fund that they're working on the grant guidelines for right now. If that fund were divided evenly between the 13 regions, which has been implied in the language but not decided yet, it would be roughly a $40 million investment in each one of those 13 regions. But I think it's really important that we're not thinking about this just about as far as what a one-time investment might be. It's really important that this planning process gives us the opportunity to look at how this region could tap into, for example, the Infrastructure Jobs Act funding. California is getting roughly $100 billion from the Infrastructure Act, and the state is going through a process right now to think through how does that get deployed through the different agencies for infrastructure, at the local level. There's also funding available federally from the Inflation Reduction Act around things like electric vehicle charging networks and energy efficiency and renewable energy and other things that could be one of these development clusters that could actually have high value here in the Sierra foothills. So I think what we're looking for in this, or the way we're looking at this planning process is that it's an opportunity to build the capacity of the community to think strategically about how do we attract new jobs, lift up existing businesses, as someone mentioned earlier, which is incredibly important. How do we train the workforce for the jobs of the future? And how do we invest in the infrastructure that will kind of secure that within our region so that there's prosperity 10 or 15 or 20 years from now? It's kind of a long-term investment. And I think leverage is the key here. If we could use this program and this process to identify ways to attract state and federal capital for infrastructure investment, but even more important, private capital for private investment to lift up and create new businesses in the region. If that was the outcome, that would be a tremendous success. So Sierra Business Council applied for to be the fiscal agent and the convener for this process. We were awarded that a couple of weeks ago, and we will be starting this process up across the region. Probably, I would love to say that state contracting could be done in 30 days, but I don't really believe it can. So my guess is, if there were an earthquake, the official timeline was supposed to be November 1st, and that's like 2 days from now, so I don't think that's going to happen. But I think we'll probably be starting this process right after the first of the year. And many of the organizations here in the room have supported this process and the planning effort. I know that the Community Action Agency wrote a letter of support, the county wrote a letter of support. The City of Angels Camp wrote a letter of support. The Central Sierra Economic Development District wrote a letter of support. So we're really committed to working with partners across that entire 7-county region to make this a truly successful process. It will be very participatory. It will be very transparent. We will share all of the data that is developed with all of the jurisdictions and the organizations and the agencies within the region. So we really look forward to working with the communities to figure out what are the recommendations for the types of investments that should be made here. And then we will also be there for you to work through the process of applying for that infrastructure funding as well. So we're committed to kind of work through the full process and try to go out and secure funding for some of those key projects that you identified. So that's kind of my story. That's what I came here to talk about this morning. But I did want to mention one other thing since I'm here. We're also working on another really interesting project, and one of the something very close to my heart and something that I know has been an issue in the community for years has been the issue of forest management, wildfire risk, wildfire mitigation, and then if you are successful in forest management, what do you do with the material? So biomass utilization, right? So we are working on another project right now on looking at kind of a private sector biomass aggregation project in order to identify future uses of that biomass. We have been talking to all of the other people working in the region, like Golden State Natural Resources and others, about what sorts of facilities could be set up. There is a new study coming out from the California State University system that's identifying workforce development needs around biomass utilization. This is actually a huge emerging issue that if the state is actually going to meet its goal to thin 1 million acres a year of forest, there's nothing to do with the material. Like once we had something to do with the material in the good old days, and now we really don't. So we've been working with the Governor's Office of Planning and Research on trying to identify kind of whether or not this issue of forest management, wildfire mitigation, and biomass utilization might be one of those economic clusters that's identified within the SURF. And if it was, I think it would create a lot of opportunity for job growth and creation around that. The Cal State study on workforce education and training that I was mentioning indicated that in California today, we're thinning or treating about 250,000 acres of forest, and we're doing that with about 80,000 workers. So do the math on that. If you're going to treat 1 million acres of forest, how many workers do you need? Right? And where do those workers come from, and how do they get trained? And what sorts of companies need to be deployed in order to do that work and everything else, right? So I think this is something that clearly we are seeing already from all of the preliminary data that we've collected is going to emerge as one of the key kind of sectors to look at within this region. And it is a kind of universal issue across the entire 7-county region. So it's one of those that we think is likely to emerge. But anyway, I don't want to go on because the sun is shining and I think everyone is ready to get in it. But if anyone had any questions that they want to ask, I'd be happy to stick around and answer questions, or unless anyone has anything they want to ask now. Nope? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all of our speakers. And Stephen, you have a wealth of information obviously in this room, and we appreciate all that you do, and everybody who came up and spoke, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.